In this video, we discuss 15 things you need to do before you retire. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
There are things that people really should do before they retire, but they put them off until after the big day. And when they do them, they wish they had done them months or even years beforehand. It's very unlikely that you will disagree with the content that you are about to see, or at least you won't disagree that this list is important for the vast majority of people. If you're incredibly wealthy, well, maybe some of these won't apply to you, but for the majority of folks, this is a great starting point. You undoubtedly will have some to add to this list. If so, put them in the comments section below. Stick around to the end because number 15 is often overlooked by people even deep into retirement. Yet, if you get this right, it will save you a lot of money. But number 15 takes sometimes 3 or even 6 months to implement. Also, remember, retirement intelligence is changing every single day. The things that we do today are vastly different than they were even a few years ago when it comes to retirement. So make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post at least once a week. All right, let's go. Number 1, have a plan, work the plan, and coordinate that plan with your spouse. The Scottish poet from the late 1700s named Robert Burns said in his poem, To a Mouse, even the best laid plans can go wrong. He said it in distinct Scottish dialect, so it sounded a little bit different, but those were the words that are used today. But what's not said from that passage is that if even the best laid plans can go wrong, having no plan is almost a guarantee that something is going to go wrong. At least having a plan will get you closer to having a great retirement. So the rest of this video is getting you closer to great so that you can stress less and enjoy more. Also, if you have a partner, make sure that you have a discussion with him or her about your plans and make sure you're in agreement, because that can be a high stress point if you get that one wrong. The next point, know where you are going to live when you retire. In retirement, you don't need to live where you lived when you raised your family. In fact, a lot of retirees move. The classic move is to Florida or Arizona or a place like that, but leaving the weather and the problems that you had back during your working years behind is a classic signature move of a retiree. Now, remember, when you were raising a family, it was all about the family and the job opportunity. But without that obligation anymore, you can go to a place that has better medical attention, better weather, that's less expensive, or a variety of other opportunities for you to explore in that new place. Also, many of these places have others just like you who have moved to this new location to begin their new life and be around people like them. The next point, know where your retirement income is going to come from. Not just a vague idea, but specifically where every dollar every month is going to come from the point you retire into the future. Is it going to come from Social Security? How much exactly are you going to get from Social Security? How much are you going to withdraw from your 401k? How much do you receive from your pension, if you have a pension? Retiring without knowing your exact cash flow is a bit like buying a house without knowing what your mortgage payment is going to be. You may have a good idea, maybe even a really good idea just based on your knowledge of the world, but until you read the documents or do the work, you won't know for sure. This is really important. The next point, learn how Medicare works. Medicare is arguably the single most important thing that a retiree needs to get right. Why? Because as you get older, your medical costs go up. Fortunately, the vast majority of you are entitled to Medicare, but there are different types of Medicare plans. There's Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B, Medicare Part D. Also, there are Medicare supplements that cover the things that Medicare does not. The choices are significant and they really need to be thought through based on your own individual circumstances. Next, map out a retirement budget. A budget in retirement is like a map or a GPS for your automobile when you're driving long distance. You can eventually get to your location without one, I suppose. It would be fraught with all sorts of mistakes along the way, but why would you? When you enter retirement, you will undoubtedly see a reduction in some pretty common expenses. Think about things like commuting costs, train tickets, bus tickets, etc., clothes for work, lunches, meals out while you're working. For many of you, you won't be buying lunch every single day. When you're in retirement, you'll be eating in more, at least during the non-social meals, let's say. The next point, consolidate your financial accounts. Let me explain. Human beings naturally don't do things that they feel don't really need to be done. For example, think about spring cleaning. Here in this house, spring cleaning gets done every 2 or 3 years when the need really shows itself. If you're like most people, you probably have 2 or 3 401ks, perhaps a money pension plan, some assets that you own which aren't linked to any of those accounts, and maybe 2 or 3 bank accounts. The problem is that they all don't work together because they're all located in different places. Consolidating helps you streamline. It helps you save money. For example, a 401k in many cases is far more expensive than the same investments in an IRA because there's not a money manager taking out fees in an IRA. Just make sure that you do it in a tax-efficient way. For most of you, this means transfer, not sell and repurchase. Talk to someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to taxes in this regard. Next, reduce your portfolio risk profile. Once you have all of your accounts in one location, next it's time to assess the investments themselves. And for most people, if they have old accounts, oftentimes they're in index funds, and this may or may not be appropriate for your stage in life. 100% equity risk may be entirely appropriate if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or even early 50s. But as you get closer to retirement, rebalancing that risk becomes of paramount importance. All you need to do is think about what's happened over the last 3 years to understand exactly what I'm talking about. The next point, know how to draw from your retirement savings in the most tax-efficient way. Taxes are the single biggest expense for many people as they navigate their way through adulthood. For some people, they pay up to 37% tax plus state and local taxes as well. That's on top of your payroll tax and real estate tax, which is outside of this discussion for the moment. And of course, even though Social Security was a tax when you paid it, it often gets taxed again, depending on your income. There are basically 3 types of buckets when it comes to the stuff that you use: fully taxed, tax deferred, and tax-free. Fully taxed might include something like a part-time job. Deferred taxes might include something like a 401k. And tax-free might include something like a Roth IRA. There are things that get triggered if you earn too much: taxes on Social Security, your premium on Medicare, and other certain tax-related items. So make sure you talk to a good tax accountant to optimize your withdrawal strategy and, frankly, your investment strategy. The next point, eliminate high-interest debt, basically credit card debt. Credit cards are highly addictive. If they were a drug, they would come with a warning label. They're the most obvious area where financially responsible people should never go, yet they're one of the most common financial leaks when you look at the retirement community as a whole. So have your high interest debt paid off long before you go into retirement, if possible, if not as quickly as possible after you go into retirement. The next point, develop and follow a strategy for claiming Social Security. 96% of Americans claim Social Security at the wrong time, according to United Income, an online financial advisory firm, leaving an average of $111,000 on the table for that 96%. Now, for many of you, you know my philosophy is that Social Security is not entirely about money, but if you are looking to maximize the financial aspect of Social Security, it's important to work with someone to help you plan this right. Also, there are some data points that suggest that even if it's not all about the money, people could still make slightly better choices. For example, just about 40% take Social Security at age 62. The standard method of deciding when to take Social Security is to discuss what friends and family do and do the same thing. No financial analysis at all. Even if you take it earlier versus later, it makes sense to do a bit of work to make sure that you get the decision right. The next point, plan your time because you're going to have a lot of it. The average retiree goes from 8 to 10 hours a day of work-related activity, travel to the office, lunch, travel home from the office, maybe even some phone calls when they get home, to having no work-related activity at all. So they have 8, 10, maybe even more hours in the day that they need to fill with something else. Add to this the fact that the children may now be on their own, the spouse may even still be working, and some of the friends are still at work when the retiree is at home. All of a sudden, retirees have a crisis. All the time in the world and nothing to do. This is why retirees volunteer, take up golf or get better at golf, start a hobby, start a part-time job, do something so that they can fill the void. But it's better knowing this going in so you can optimize the thing that you want to do. Next, get your will trusts, and power of attorney in shape. You may have set these documents up a long time ago, so therefore you don't think you need to review them. But in many cases, this isn't true. Some family members may have special needs. You may need to set up trusts to protect the wealth that you've built your entire life. 13. Rekindle old friendships. Sometimes in life, and I would say for most of us, many times in life, we wish we had kept in touch with people from our past, but one thing or another got in the way. It could be an argument that we now regret. By the way, chances are they regret it too, but they are afraid to make the phone call, as are you. You or they could have moved, and what was supposed to be out of sight, out of mind for a few months ended up being a decade or two or longer. Perhaps you think of them all of the time, but then the thought goes away and it's on to something else, only to be thought about again tomorrow and tomorrow, mañana, the mañana syndrome. With the extra time on your hands, you now have the opportunity to bring these people back into your life if you want them there. And who can't use more close relationships in retirement? Number 14, if you're staying in your current home, make sure that your appliances are up to date and major repairs have been completed. Going into retirement with key appliances failing can be financially devastating, particularly if the retiree doesn't have much in the way of retirement savings. Plan now to replace or overhaul your appliances so that you don't have heartache later. Finally, number 15, look into property tax reduction programs for those in retirement. Many states have them. For example, New York has one that can reduce property taxes by 50% in many municipalities. Many of them have age requirements, some of them have income requirements, and some of them also have use of school requirements or lack of use of school requirements. But many states have them, many municipalities have them. Definitely something to look into because, as I said, if you're in New York, your taxes could be reduced by up to 50% in some municipalities. If you like this video, check out that video, the average retiree income by age. How do you compare? Also, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted the next time I post a video. I post once or twice a week. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.